Good morning to each and every single one of you, and welcome to today's free webinar that you have on offer from PAM Wellness, even called Positive Life Balance. And I think this positive life balance has become a little bit more trickier within the last 4 to 5 years, how the world went around that time, us having to work from home a lot more, and the world becoming a little bit more interconnected in that sense. So what I'll be going through today is just a few kind of hints and tips that we can utilize each and every day to just make sure we get a little bit more of a positive spin on that work-life kind of balance. So a little introduction from myself. My name is James, and I am a health and wellness expert at PAM Wellness, and it gives me great pleasure to take you through this session today. Now, in terms of the content that we go through this morning, hopefully we can have a little bit of dialogue, and I'll ask your thoughts around certain things, and you can come off the mic and we can talk around certain things. And then there's other parts where I'll probably utilize the chat box as well, because it might serve a little bit better. Also, the big part of today is something we'll look at called the well-being wheel, which we can utilize, but I'll talk a little bit more about what I mean by that once we get to that part of the webinar. But in terms of when we get there, if you do have a pen and a piece of paper, that would be amazing. If you haven't, that's not the end of the world either. We can still go through the activity without a pen and paper. But if you do have it, then that might make the webinar even more fruitful for you. All right. So just before we begin then, I just want to take you through what you can expect from today's session. This is a 30-minute taster webinar, which will give you a high-level overview of our education and training sessions here at PAM Wellness. Today's session will be recorded and it will be available on our YouTube page after the session. So please do turn off microphones and cameras if you do not wish to be recorded. And if you could do that now, that would be brilliant. And if after today's session, you would like to find out more about the education, training or health assessments that we do and we offer at PAM Wellness, then you can get in contact with us on the email address on your screens right now. And that is businesssupport@pamwellbeing.co.uk. All right, so I'll just leave that on the screen quickly. If you wanted to grab a screenshot, that's the email address to contact us on for any further education, training and health assessments. We've got loads and loads of workshops outside of this one today. So if you are interested, give them a message and they can fire over all the different workshops and webinars that we have on offer outside of the one that I'll be going through this morning. Is anyone else struggling to see anything? I can see someone's just popped in the chat that they can't see anything. Is anyone else struggling, or is everyone else okay? You can see. You can see.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All okay. Fantastic. Okay. So to the unknown user that can't see, possibly if you want to leave the session and come back in, potentially that might help. Have we got a question there, Lorraine, or are you just putting your hand up?
Oh, sorry, I meant to do the thumbs up.
Okay, no worries. Fantastic. Okay, fantastic. Everything's good and we can see. Lovely stuff. All right then, moving into a little bit of an introduction then. And as I was kind of alluding to right at the beginning, in the past few years, we have been working in some very unusual and challenging times, to say the least, off the back of 2020 and the pandemic specifically. And with that time came a lot more working from home. And that influenced our work-life balance in different ways. For some people, they transitioned quite seamlessly, and for other people, it became really, really difficult. So that's why it's important to address maintaining a positive balance between work and life. And if we implement positive actions in our personal life, we are much more likely to thrive in our work life, allowing us to stay focused and to achieve our goals. So today's session, like I said before, is only a little bit of a short one, but we are going to run through some key behaviors that we can put in place and set out a bit of an action plan throughout the session. And like I said, we'll get to that well-being wheel part, and that will bring everything together that we'll be talking about throughout the session. We'll also take a little look at boundaries specifically and the importance of breaks. And I think that's one of the biggest things, isn't it, when we're talking about working from home, is that kind of blurred lines between us starting work, finishing work, and being stuck in this kind of always on culture, because we don't have that commute that we would normally do if we were going to the office, for example. So we'll have a look at boundaries and how we can kind of try to mimic that working in the office environment when we are working from home. Okay, so first and foremost, like I said, let's take a look at boundaries and what we can do to take our work hat off at the end of the day and knowing when to put it on. So when we're talking about home versus work boundaries, we're essentially talking about just that. We're talking about connecting and then also importantly disconnecting from work as well, being able to switch off at your normal finishing time and not work long into the evening, which can happen, and it's very common amongst people. Of course, like I said, for some people, the pandemic has changed our ways of working, whether that is work from home or still working in the office or a combination now. And that's why it's super, super important that we address these boundaries generally. So when we start work first thing in the morning, we want to be able to put on our metaphorical work hat on, so to speak, so that we can engage and thrive during work hours. And at the end of the day, we want to be able to take off that work hat and leave anything associated with work behind, so we can disconnect and enjoy our time away with family, friends, whatever it may be. And these are just some of my favorite tips on how best to go about doing that. So first of all, we've got at the top is around doing something that you really enjoy, quite simply. Whether that's before work to start the day off in a positive way and put you in a good mood, or to disconnect from work at the end of the day, or both. Or both. You could do it at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, so it feels as if there's something positive happening before work and there's something positive happening off the back of the work. And that transition of putting your hat on and taking that hat off can just be a little bit more seamless. So first thing in the morning, it could be something as simple as going for a walk outside around the block and coming home, just to take your mind off that you're getting up first thing in the morning, switching on the laptop, and then you're just kind of going through the motions, so to speak. So something as simple as a 20-minute walk first thing in the morning might allow you to kind of mimic that commute that obviously you don't get when you're working from home. After work, again, you could just factor in something to do with the family. Again, it could be going outside and taking a walk, so you feel as if you're having that second commute coming home from work as well, and just avoiding that temptation of getting up a little bit later, having a shower, switching on the laptop, and not really feeling as if there's been a transition from you waking up, going to work, and a transition to finishing work and doing something that you enjoy off the back of that. Okay, which follows on quite nicely then into adding a fake commute. So it's common to think a benefit, like I said, of working from home is not having to commute, which it may be. However, for a lot of people, I can definitely say this for myself, that commute to and from work acts as a really solid buffer to transition from home mode to work mode and vice versa as well. So how could you add in a fake commute? What do you think you could do potentially? Any ideas or stuff that you guys do that you could probably share with the rest of the group?
Hi Phil.
I would say,
I just what would be considered as a fake commute? Sorry, I must have missed that. Like walking, like you said, going out for a walk in the morning,
Yeah,
going for a run.
Exactly. So there's a couple of people coming in there with a short walk, but also have a little think about when we were going to the office all the time. Even though we were driving to work, what were we doing whilst in the car? Were we listening to music? Were we listening to a favorite podcast on the way into work? Little things like that.
Okay, so yeah, I do walk. If I'm walking, when I work from home, I go for a walk at lunchtime around the block. When it was warmer, I used to do running, which I will start again once it gets warmer. Or my exercise bike at home, them type of thing.
And obviously, there'll be some days probably where you don't do that, just the way the working week is. And you notice a massive difference on the days that you do that versus the days that you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about consistency for me. I do lack consistency.
We'll talk a little bit about consistency and what we can do. And some of the things may sound quite obvious that we go through, but I'll talk about exactly why they're quite impactful when we get there. But all the stuff you mentioned there in terms of the lunch break stuff, absolutely would be something to implement. I'm just having a look at the chat to see what else we've got coming in at the moment. So the school run can act as a work commute. Absolutely. I like that one. Trying to put a positive spin on the school run, which is good. Going to the gym, cycle around the block. Yeah. All these things would come in as a fake commute and can just prepare us for the working day ahead. So you start your day off in a positive way. So you've got that fake commute on the way into work, and then just kind of focusing on what we could do after work as well. There's some really, really good stuff coming in chat there. Okay. Moving into our third little kind of tip that we can look at is changing into and out of work clothes. Now, I think the vast majority of people have got better at these little tips that we're looking at on the screen as time has gone on, because when it was 2020 and it first came around, it was completely new to all of us. How do we live our lives in this way? But as time has gone on, and this has become a little bit of the norm, we've understood why a lot of these things can benefit us. Absolutely. So changing into and out of work clothes again can just kind of mimic that working day if you were actually in the office as well. Last but not least, connecting with someone at the bottom. So whether it's on the lunch break and you've got enough time for it, like someone mentioned, whether it's before work or after work, having a catch up with a cuppa with someone in the house, or if it's virtually, even if you could do that, just to connect with someone else and decompress from your work schedule, can just allow you to have that little bit of a buffer, that little bit of a decompress away from your normal work environment, so you can switch off a little bit, come back refreshed, and get through everything that you need to get through off the back of it. So in terms of boundaries, whether it's the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, it seems as if a lot of people looking at the chat are particularly good at the beginning of the day. Do we find this a struggle at the end of the day to decompress and switch off from work if we've been working from home a lot? Yeah. Does anyone have their emails on their phone? The email app. And Teams. Interestingly, yeah. And again, that's not me to say that you should definitely take that off, but that taking that app off the phone and leaving the phone just for the personal kind of use might assist in that transition from the end of the day to then going into your personal life and doing something that can help you to switch off from work completely. On top of this, we've got making time for breaks as well, and why this is so important. I think we're all guilty from time to time of either working through a lunch break or working a little bit later into the evening just to make sure things are getting done. But making time for breaks is absolutely fundamental, and I'm going to show you a little study in a second of how important breaks are actually for our productivity. Our thought process a lot of the time is, let me just sit here and work through as much as I can so then I can leave earlier, when actually if we take that break and we utilize that break effectively, we can come back and we're probably even more productive than if we just sat there and tried to get through everything. So due to there now being such a high number of workers having sedentary jobs, sitting at home a lot of time, it's more important than ever to encourage yourself and others to incorporate these active breaks to increase your physical activity levels to support improvement in productivity. But it will also support our physical and mental well-being too. So first of all, we've got over here is setting a reminder every hour. Just using and setting a tangible reminder may be useful to nudge you into having a break. Now, we can do that in a number of different ways. We can put that reminder in our phones, on a calendar, in the kitchen, in the house, wherever it may be. Now, personally, for me, where setting reminders works well in terms of taking a break is through my Teams calendar. And I think the reason that works particularly well for me is because it's consistently in my face all the time. So that reminder is always there. So if I can utilize my Teams calendar to put in little breaks, it's consistently in my face all day long. So I'm constantly getting them reminders for me to get up, move around, and then come back and be a little bit more productive. I could see a hand went up there. I think it came from Julie. That come up? Or were you just agreeing?
No, I do exactly the same. I use my calendar to A, tell me when to go home, and B, tell me when to take a break, if nothing more than to make me eat. Otherwise I can find myself getting to 3 o'clock and not having anything to eat. So I think it's really important to put those times in your planner to remind you those are things that you should be doing. Otherwise it's just easy to get stuck in doing a task and not see the time.
You're absolutely spot on. You're absolutely spot on. We are, in terms of our habit building, we are driven by our environment and what we see in things we do. So think about, right, if you're in the office and it's someone's birthday and they bring in muffins and cakes, you probably weren't thinking about having a cake or a muffin before they came in with all their stuff. But now it's there in front of you in the office, it becomes very, very tempting. So we're completely driven by what we see in our environment around us. So if you are consistently looking at your calendar all day long, that is a perfect kind of place to utilize them breaks, because it's constantly giving you that reminder, so you don't forget ultimately, and taking the pressure off yourself as well. What else have we got around taking our full lunch break? And again, it comes back to what I said earlier. It sounds sensible enough to go, forget my lunch break, I'll just work through it so I can get more done and I can leave earlier. Makes kind of sense. However, we're also very prone to procrastination as well. And if we are trying to get through a lot of work and it feels very overwhelming, interestingly enough, as human beings, what we then do is go in the opposite direction and tend to do not that much at all. So taking things in little chunks and taking them breaks to decompress and come back, that can really, really assist in terms of productivity moving forward. On top of that, and I think these two kind of go hand in hand, is utilizing your lunch break really, really well to move as much as you possibly can. Now, I'll talk about this in a little bit more detail in the next slide, but there's a lot of studies around the benefits of physical activity and just simply moving at work and how that corresponds into how productive people are. So I'll talk about that in a little while, because I don't want to confuse between two slides as well. Then we've got number 4, taking our annual leave. And I think I was definitely guilty of this towards the end of last year, that kind of going through the motions and forgetting about annual leave. But having that something to aim for in terms of annual leave, again, can help us to just maintain that productivity at work. If we're consistently going through the motions week after week after week, and there's nothing for us to kind of look forward to or aim for, that can drain us in terms of productivity. So definitely utilize annual leave where you can, because again, it can just help you to decompress, get a little bit more life in that work-life balance. So then when you come back, you're far more productive when you do. The other thing about annual leave to note as well is probably trying not to take all your annual leave in one kind of part of the year, one go. Where you can spread that out across the year, again, can help with productivity as well. Just going to have a little look at chat a second, just because I can see someone sent in a message. I like that. Yeah, I like what you're saying there. And if it works for you and it's making you feel good, then absolutely do carry on with that. And you talk about building friendships at work there. You know, collaboration at work, and you're there for around 40 hours plus a week. So that's a huge chunk of your week. So to have some solid friendships within work is absolutely paramount to well-being, in my opinion. With that, maybe comes then friendships is knowing together when to talk about things in work and when to talk about things outside of work. Otherwise, it may feel a little bit all-encompassing potentially. But if it's working for you and it makes you feel good, that's not for me to say to stop doing that at all. Absolutely not. In fact, probably encourage it. Okay. I did mention around the benefits of moving at work. Now, this is a study that looked at people actually exercising and then asking them to report which aspects of their job performance improved on the days that they exercise. Now, I know this is talking about exercise specifically, but simply moving has exactly the same kind of effect. So on the days that these guys were exercising and they were asked to report where they improved, these were the areas that they improved across the board. So their concentration was better, their motivation to work was far better, their time management was better, their ability to collaborate with others and work with others in teams was far, far better, ability to deal with stress is far better, and ability to meet deadlines as well. Now, you can see that a lot of these things do have things in common as well. If our time management is far better, which it is here, then our ability to meet deadlines is a lot better. If we are far more motivated, again, that might have a link to our ability to meet deadlines. So simply moving, getting out, decompressing and coming back can mean that we are far more productive when we come back to our desk. Because when we're sitting at our desk all day, like I am right now, and if I was to stay here all day, ultimately what happens physiologically is my blood pressure tends to drop, my body temperature tends to drop, every physiological kind of parameter is dropping. And when that happens, you start to feel quite yawny and tired. And that's not what we want if we're talking about productivity. So what do we need to do in order to be a bit more productive and a little bit more concentrated? We need to do all them things in opposite that I'm talking about. So everything's coming down when I'm sitting here all day. We need to send everything in the opposite direction. So I need my body temperature to go up. I need my blood pressure to start going up. I need my heart rate to start going up. Now, the one thing that you do to make all of them go up is to simply move. And the quicker you can move, the better. But just simply moving, or someone's mentioned the stand-up desk there helps you move more. Again, utilizing your environment will really, really help in terms of your productivity at work. Okay, one more thing for us to look at then before I round off. And this well-being wheel is all about understanding how unpredictable all of our lives are. Now, in an ideal world, okay, we'd sit down at the start of the week and we'd look at our week, what we've got coming up, and we'd plan in advance where we've got an hour to go to the gym, or where we've got half a day to do something like a spa, or whatever it might be on the weekend. but ultimately our lives are a little bit more unpredictable than that. So what we have here is a tool to assist that unpredictable nature of our lives, and this is called the well-being wheel. And you can see on the wheel, you've got different times running around the wheel. Now, if you want to take a screenshot of this, absolutely you can. Or, like I said at the beginning of the webinar, if you've got that pen and paper to hand or pencil, then you can draw this wheel and you can draw the segments within it as well. So with this activity, really try to think of things that will improve your well-being in that moment, all the way through to planned activities that you can look forward to. So I'll allow you guys to take a little look at the wheel and think of things that you can do for 30 seconds. Potentially it might be some deep breathing. For 5 minutes, you may be able to take part in a little bit of meditation or mindfulness, for example. If you've got a spare half day, then what could you be doing there? That spa I mentioned before, potentially. There's loads of different things within here. So I'll give you guys about 30 seconds to have a look at the different areas of the well-being wheel and things and activities that you can do in each segment. And then I will call out individual ones and see what ideas we can come up with for each. I'll give you another 20 seconds or so to take a look at that. No worries, Pauline. Thank you for coming. Okay. In the interest of time then, guys, what could we do if we had a spare 15 minutes, for example?
Squats.
You could do squats, yeah. If you're at work, brisk walk. I like that. Brisk walk would be good. Reading the book.
Meditate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
If you're at home, you can put on some washing on the washing machine, do wash up
stuff. What about a week plus? Maybe that's a little bit more exotic that we can look at. A week plus.
That's a quick staycation. That was
staycation. Yeah, if we've got the money abroad, whatever it may be, something fun with the family. What about one more to go? What about 2 hours? If we've got 2 hours spare, what could we do there?
retail therapy.
Retail therapy, lovely.
Watch a movie.
Lovely. Watch a movie, yeah.
Netflix and popcorn.
Oh, I've been watching a few movies lately that are way too long, in my opinion, have been over 2 hours. But yeah, any movie under 2 hours, yeah, I definitely join. Good, some really good ideas within there. But ultimately, this activity on the screen here can allow you to prepare for that unpredictable nature. So if, I don't know, a spare 30 minutes pops up that you didn't expect to happen, then you can look back to your wellbeing wheel and all the activities that you've got in that 30-minute segment and utilize one or two of them. So rather than being reactive to things happening, because that's our life, it's unpredictable, it can be reactive, at least you've got a plan for different timings when they do come about. So that brings us to the close of today's free webinar, guys. I hope you enjoyed this bite-sized session and can take away the wellbeing wheel specifically to do in your own time. If you're looking for more sessions like this, specific for your own employees, PAM Wellness have over 80 workshops and webinars to support the mental, social, physical, and financial wellbeing of your workforce. So please, as I mentioned at the beginning, please contact business support at pamwellbeing.co.uk for any of the stuff that you see on the screen there. Does anyone have any questions at all before I drop it there?
I'd just like to say something, James, if I may. I just purely from the point of view that quite often our employees think that it's just counselling that PAM offers, but actually and I try to promote that there's so much more and just ring to find out what might be available. We've got loads of stuff, particularly on, I'm from Plymouth City Council, but we've got loads of stuff on our health and wellbeing pages. But I do try to promote that ring them and find out what's there for this sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And from my point of view, me and another lad that does the same job with me, we're health coaches. We deliver these webinars and workshops. There's, like I said, there's over 80 different ones. And in today's world, there's so much information out there that it can be difficult knowing what is evidence-based and what is not. So yeah, we try to drown out the noise of things that aren't so true, so to speak. And to give people the tools that can benefit loads of different things. Their sleep, their eating habits. I know I talked a lot about habit psychology here today as well, and pushing us in the right direction. So there's loads of different things, and it's not just the EAP and the mental health services. There's the health checks that we do, the workshops that we do, the one-to-one coaching that we do as well. So it's there's a lot that goes on within that. All right then, guys. Well, if there's no other questions, all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for all of you turning up today. It always makes it a lot better when there's a lot of engagement, and you guys have been fantastic in that sense. So hopefully I will see you really, really soon, and I hope you have a lovely weekend when it rolls around.